Welcome, everyone, to Stay Curious. I'm your host, Mark Marquette, and we're broadcasted live from the American Space Museum studios in downtown Titusville, Florida, literally less than 10 miles away from the launch pads just to the east of us across the Indian River, the mighty launch pads of Cape Kennedy and Cape Canaveral Space Force. And maybe one day they'll launch the Starship there. But that's something that's being debated at this very moment and this week here on the Space Coast as public forums have opened up to discuss bringing this behemoth of a rocket right behind me here that Marty Winkle chose as our green screen there. I'll scoot over there a little bit and we're going to talk about uh, a little bit about Starship. Many of you may have seen an interview with Elon Musk watching yesterday's second scrub of Starship 10. So we'll discuss that today. And we've got two astronaut birthdays on today, August 26th, and six other ones the last 2 days before. What is it with August, Marty, and all these Leos being born that are astronauts? So, Marty Winkle, of course, is my co producer and friend on this program. We've done over 1,300 episodes in 5 years. And Marty, I told you I'd get your take here in a few minutes about what a veteran like Marty, who's seen, gosh, I don't know, 500 launches or more, maybe. Uh, Certainly you have.
No, certainly well over a
You
thousand.
think well over 1,000? Okay, as he looks at me with that furrowed brow, well over 1,000 launches. And what does he think about? He's seen all the Saturn V launches. What does he think something twice as powerful might do to our environment in in so many ways here? We'll discuss that a little bit. Maybe get your comments as I hit up my smart tablet here on my YouTube channel, and hope you tell your friends also that if they watch this program, they're getting some content that they don't get anywhere else. And we wear it, warts and all. Not too fancy of a production here, as my eyes are off you on the camera, looking at my smart tablet here to beam up all of our friends watching literally around the world. And who's up first today? Steve Jokem's up there in Illinois watching today. We've got an Illinois astronaut that we celebrated yesterday, and Dave Stangy. Thank you all for thinking this is a place to hang out with your space friends, and many of you have met each other during our programs we've had on the Space Coast, including 4 Shuttle Fests, and the 5th one coming up will soon to be something you will not want to miss. June 19th, 20th, and 21st, Shuttle Fest 5 at the Cocoa Beach Hilton for the first time. So, Marty, let's rack it up there. And American Space Museum is having its 39th charity auction this Saturday, and you can own a piece of space memorabilia from Neil Armstrong's x-rays of his boots there. This is a cool item to be signed by 3 of the Mercury astronauts. The Mercury capsule that should go for $400 or $500 easy. Hit that QR code and you can start bidding now when you log in and put your bid. And we'll talk about that here at the end of the program. Show you half a dozen lots that I picked out, or screenshots of some of the lots there to tease you to go look tonight instead of watching those reruns. Watch those reruns with your smart tablet looking at the auction. There's really some cool things on there. And like I keep emphasizing, and I'm right, aren't I, Marty? There's quite a history lesson when you look through, when you watch an auction. There's a lot of things that you never thought of or never knew existed, right, Marty? You watch it a lot.
Yeah, I've watched almost all of them. I think I missed the first two or
Uh,
three.
but it's a
But
history lesson in many
it is.
ways.
Yeah.
Truly is. So supports our museum in many ways. Well, one public commentary here, not of the museum, but of me, Mark Marquette. Quit believing this stupid stuff on Facebook, okay? There is so much crazy stuff on Facebook that, though it is an important part of our outreach for our humble nonprofit, when I look at feeds and I see things like this 3 massive 150-mile wide alien spacecraft, Marty, are heading towards the Earth. Did you know that? Well,
Did not know that.
well, no, they're not. All right. And also, another thing that's occurring is this is not a Webb telescope photograph showing aliens on top of a spaceship that's coming through our solar system. Yes, there is an alien comet, quite possibly, that might be as big as, I don't know. They don't think it's very big, not even maybe 10 miles wide. But this is being advertised, Marty, as a 7 mile wide object headed toward the Earth could be alien spacecraft and not just a comet. No, it is a comet or a space rock. It is not an alien spacecraft disguised as a space rock. And this is the third object we've seen go through our solar system that came from another solar system. Why aren't humans embracing this phenomenon of, now that we're looking at things all the time, that space is very cluttered? What an incredible thought. The first time we had, about 3 years ago, this space, is what they're showing there, is what the depiction of one of these looked like. Umau is what they call that one, some Hawaiian name. It was thin like a pancake. It had maybe been traveling through outer space for 5 billion years, who knows? But it happened to go through our solar system, drawn in by the sun's gravity, and then it exited. Don't believe this stuff, okay? It is so hokey. There's so many crazy things out there. Uh, Artificial intelligence, FUI, that is AI generated here on Earth, all right? Not artificial intelligence from another world. So be a skeptical inquirer. It's important in today's world, is my commentary, to be your own judge. Don't buy into the lemming philosophy. The masses all believe it and everyone's talking about it. And don't be one of those that perpetuates rumors. This is utterly ridiculous. This is a scientific physics phenomenon that we need to investigate. I wish we had money to send a scout spaceship of us aliens in it to go visit this alien craft. And if it was, there'd be a beeline right for Earth. With all the water on us, any alien spacecraft in our solar system would know the blue marble of the Earth and want to go and probably steal all of our resources. After all, the great physicist Stephen Hawking said, be careful what you ask for. He feels that aliens would be unfriendly. After all, look at the invasion of the North American continent by the Europeans and what they did to the natives here. They wanted to rule them and take them over. Cortez, Spaniards, stuff like that, going to Mexico to take over their country. So be careful what you ask for, because you might have a scenario like Martians killing everybody, like that movie. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that, all right? Off my soapbox. This is every day when I'm happen to cruise through Facebook, I'm seeing very ignorant things like this. And it is for people that don't have a very good education, that in science and math and physics and all that. And because they don't understand that this is impossible. It's crazy. All right. What's not crazy is Elon Musk talking about his Starship here. And many of you, like me, watched a wonderful interview with him, we'll talk about in a minute, on the National Space Flight YouTube channel. Here's a beautiful picture that Steve Marie, thank you very much for sharing your pictures with us, okay? And he is out there right now. It's not Steve. Marie is his first name. I think it is Steve. Last name's Marie. Think about it here in a second. Sorry about that, buddy. Pre-dawn, they're out at Texas, of course, West Texas, a town now called Starship. Elon Musk's factory out there for his Starships is incredible. Every time I see images of it, you're going like, oh my God, I can't believe this. There's another beautiful shot. Chris Marie. I was saying Steve. It's Chris Marie. There's the Starship crewed part of it that He wants to go halfway around the world. They'll try to do it today at 7:30 again. Third time, hopefully, is a charm. But as I was watching with my popcorn and beverage in hand, all getting cozy to watch this launch, Marty, it is mesmerizing to see the fuel and the vapors from this super cold fuel that they use on the Starship 33 Raptor engines. And it's a fog all of its own that Elon Musk hopes becomes an everyday thing to launch a Starship. In fact, not just every day, he said every hour he'd like to be launching a Starship. Now, we'll think about that in just a minute. As on the Space Coast, let me get this shot here. Musk was bragging about, come to see it. You know, everything looks, it's right off the road. We welcome everybody to come by as long as we're not launching anything. You can go on. Look at these people, Marty. Look how close they are. I mean, I wish I could go over Play Linda Beach and walk over to you know, like they're doing here. They're just right there. All right, all these people walking around the sand dunes and so forth there. Of course, the rocket is not fueled there. This was a couple of days before. Maybe this was yesterday evening after they did this. No, it'd be too dark. But maybe it was just they don't allow you around there. But here's Elon Musk, a screenshot that I took of him on the National Space Flight page there. He's got one of his employees on the left with the beard. Very informative the last couple of days about what they want to do. And Elon Musk backed that up. I don't know the other gentleman on the right, but of course that's Musk in the middle. This with a T-shirt that said "Nuke Mars." All right. So there's a T-shirt we've got to get in our gift shop there to sell. Of course, he's talking about nuclear energy to Mars. All right. Something that's going to take a vast approval from any country to allow that to be happening. But he was very glib about what they were doing, as is the gentleman on the left, the last couple of days, that they're building a factory to spit these rockets out like crazy. Look at this. What a 21st century shot, Marty. You got 3 boosters lined up there, 3 Starships in production. They're showed inside the factory that's the largest and most efficient rocket factory ever put together on Earth. There was about 10 of these lined up in the middle there at all different phases of construction. Think of the investment in the money there. Those are 250 feet tall, and then another 200 feet for the Starship. It's over 400 feet tall, maybe 425. That's and someone's going to tell me exactly because they can do it. I mean, this is an assembly line like airplanes, like the old DC-10 in the 60s, or 50s, just coming off the assembly line. And Musk is talking about that he wants, and this other gentleman, that the whole goal of these tests is not to make the Starship work. It is to make it work so efficiently that parts do not have to be replaced on it, like many airplanes that come in and land at Orlando International Airport, okay, or MCO as it's called, after what military guy was that? MacArthur? McCarthy? McCoy. Okay, McCoy, like on Star Trek, McCoy. All right, McCoy, MCO is the McCoy airport. That's actually Orlando. You may wonder why I have MCO in your ticket. That's why, McCoy, from the early days. He wants these just to be fueled and launched, maybe with a little bit of an inspection. And he actually said, I want these to launch every hour, all right? Where a Starship comes back and is caught in the tongs, then it is mated to another big booster that's waiting for it. Within 30, 40 minutes, it's mated. Start fueling it, launch it off again, all right? Now, this is how the West was won, all right? Everybody that watches the cowboy movies. How the West was won was Conestoga wagons by the hundreds going at a time out west, all right, crossing the Mississippi River, going out in the unknown badlands of our great nation out there to finally make it to the coast and Pacific coast in California. And probably for every 100 Conestoga wagons that were with their families and whatever taken off, I wonder what the percentage was that actually made it to their destination, whether they homesteaded in Kansas or North Dakota or the Nevada or made it all the way to California. I'd like to know what the percentage of that is, Marty, but given that the war with the Indians and them not wanting settlers to come there, I'm wondering if it was like even 2/3 of them would have made it, 60 out of 100. And I think this is Musk's strategy that we're going to launch not one spaceship to Mars when we go. We're going to launch 20. All right? And probably 15 to 17 of them will make it. Maybe the other 3 or 4 won't for various reasons, and those people will perish. But they will perish as explorers trying to get humanity off this planet and of course be honored in some way. I think this is the real philosophy and the only way you can populate Mars. Of course, not all of these starships going to Mars will have people on them. Probably for every one that has people on it, you'll need 4 or 5 that have supplies on them. And I contend that food is the biggest problem in keeping humans alive in space, not power, not the psychology stand of it, or do we have enough fuel? That's what I mean by power. I think it's going to be food. The basic essentials of existence of any organism is nutrients and water. So we'll see what happens there. But I know several people talking today with me about wanting to look up Musk's interview here. I kind of was thinking, man, I can't believe he's talking on this show so frankly about everything. But his dream is a big dream, and that's what it takes. He is still a young man and still can accomplish a lot. And hey, they say he's the most, got the most money in the world. And he's showing it off there at Boca Chica, his new town called Star City. All right. But he was very matter of fact about, I'm just going to keep building these starships. They're going to keep failing, but what failed on the last one's not going to fail on this one. And I'm going to keep pushing the envelope. And that is the SpaceX strategy. That is how they built the Falcon 9 rocket. Without a doubt now, the most reliable and used rocket in the history of the world. 500 and some launches, 450 some first stages have come back, 400 and some have been reused. It's just incredible, the reliability of this Falcon 9 rocket. First launched 8 years ago on the Space Coast. So we'll talk. I just love these pictures. It's just, that is surreal to me. All right. But each one of those is a starship that at some point in time is going to be launched, and they're going to learn from it. Well, what we're learning now there are 4 public meetings on Starship launches from Kennedy Space Center started today. And though you people, many of you aren't local, okay, the Federal Aviation Association is hosting 4 public in-person meetings this week, along with a virtual meeting scheduled for September 3rd to discuss the published draft environmental impact statement connected to the proposal. Public comment is open through September 22nd. There's 2 meetings today. One just concluded from 1 to 2, and another one is 6 to 8 at the Astronaut Memorial Foundation Center for Education at Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. And if you want to local and want to go to the one this afternoon, just Google, I don't know what you would Google to get into it, but there's a pass to get and a parking permit and all that stuff, which has already sent people losing their minds because they're trying to hide it and make it difficult for the public to talk. Maybe yes, maybe no. There's going to be 2 meetings Thursday. Marty, it's your old haunt, the Radisson Conference Center on Cape Canaveral. One is going to be from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and another from 6 to 8 o'clock at the Radisson Conference Center. Okay. I may attend the 6 to 8 o'clock one on Thursday. And then there's a virtual Wednesday, September 3rd meeting from 6 to 8 o'clock. All right. And there's a registration and password. And I put all that on our website. Well, as you've been looking at here and studying while I've been talking, is the familiar territory of Kennedy Space Center. And there is the vehicle assembly building right off my noggin there, okay? And the proposed launch landing access restriction area encompasses, guess what, Marty? The press site. All right. So the press site's too close. The proposed launch and landing restriction area there. Okay, they would require access to the yellow, which is about where the press site is, of course. So apparently they're going to let people close as the yellow, but boy, that's pushing the boundaries there. This is if it launches from 39A. Now the other launch site is pad, which pad, Marty? 37? The old 37 is the other launch pad where they're building. That's the one beside 34, the legendary Apollo 1 one. So when you think about environmental impact, you think about everything that's not Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral is the Merritt Island Wildlife Refuge. All right. And that is up in the upper left-hand corner. There's where the beaches are. Play Linda Beach is very close to 39B, okay, which is the Artemis launch pad. When you're out there at the first beach, which I go many times, 39A, when it has a Falcon on it, or Falcon Heavy, looks pretty close and pretty ominous from there. So the question is, one, impact of damage from the launch and the landing of the first stage, okay? The landing come back from the first stage has a gigantic sonic boom. Well, the other night I did not get up at 2:30 in the morning for the launch, but the sonic boom of the supply ship going, the crew CRS 33 going up to the space station. I did get up for that launch at 2:30, but 9 minutes after launch, the double boom of that Falcon 9 rocket coming back, and it was 25 miles away from me where I live, woke me up. Really did. I heard the boom, boom, You're supposed to be sleeping. How do you hear it? It woke me up, and I remember, what was that? A couple cracks, all right. And I'm in Port St. John. That's a good probably 25 miles from that LC, the landing up there. So that's a consideration, not just the launch, but the landing. Marty, you saw all the Saturn V rocket launches. I understand 10 miles away here in Titusville, there were windows broken, things knocked off the shelf type of thing, okay? Not just from the noise impact, but the sounds, everything that's pushed through the air on there. So, Marty, you got a question or comment?
I have two questions, Mark. First one's from Tom Celentano. Do we know how close to completion the Starship pad and tower are?
Well, I can't rightly answer that, Marty. We don't know what it looks like finished, but I don't know if you've been out there to drive by it. Marty has a pass out there at Cape Canaveral as a docent, and I don't. I go in Marty's trunk when I want to go out there.
Don't say that. They may think you're serious.
They'll be checking you on that.
I'll lose my badge.
Yeah, the YouTube spy police. Which, by the way, the fear mongering I talked about earlier that they're doing on Facebook about this alien spacecraft that's really a comet. We were disciplined on YouTube because I opened up a show like the Mars Invasion of H.G. Wells and was flagged for creating a public, inciting the public. And I think Facebook needs to look at that. So, but yeah. the fear mongering is going on about this, no doubt, as we speak. Marty, your comment about the Saturn V rocket launch aftermath.
I'm not sure really what you're asking, Mark. I mean, I was not in Titusville during the launches,
Well, it is
uh,
true. You heard
but
about
I heard,
windows
yeah,
being broke, and
I heard windows being broken. I don't know anybody who ever had a broken window. I know windows were vibrating somewhat, but I don't know. I just heard the rumors there were broken windows. But back in those days, also, you didn't have the storm windows. You didn't have the impact windows you have today. So I don't know if that would be a concern or not.
uh,
But we do have another question.
this is a bigger, much twice as big rocket when you're thinking about it. Yeah, go ahead, Marty.
Okay, we have two questions from RG Jubilee. One I don't understand. It said, would you share some of the info on your next show? I don't know what info she's asking.
Well,
I think,
info about these public meetings, what's in the
okay.
newspaper, probably. Sure will, Rosalie.
Okay, then she's asking, what would happen if it explodes in our area where people would be in jeopardy who live nearby and who live in Merritt Island, etc. So,
Well, this is what the public forums are going on there. RG Jubilee for Rosalie Graziano. We met her at the Memorabilia show a week ago, and thank you for your comments there. We can't answer all your questions, but she likes to chime in on there, and glad that you all embrace her on there. Uh, uh, and well, Facebook doesn't have an idea about what's being broadcast, Dave Stangy. YouTube does, because I opened up a show, extra Martians invading the Earth, blah blah blah, like this headline screamed in the War of the Worlds, uh, broadcast by H.G. Wells, that some people thought it was a invasion, and you can't do that in the public about any, like you can't yell fire in a theater, all right? And this is what Facebook's allowing to be done, in my opinion, is a bunch of self-seeking people looking for clicks on their Facebook page to make money, just dispensing garbage, scientific uh, hoaxes to people out there. So I'll get off my soapbox there a little bit. But now this is a serious issue here. I see both ways. If you had a fueling explosion at the test stand that was happened at Boca Chica there a month ago, where it wiped out this big area there, you got an idea about the damage that could happen. But I say keep it in Texas, all right? They've created a city, they've incorporated a city. The infrastructure of the roads needs to be real built. As Elon Musk was talking to people during this interview, he said, "Come out and come by and see our rocket ranch. We've got no gates up. We've got no barriers up there. As long as there's not a launch going on, you can pull off the side of the road, get in your car, and look. Just walk around wherever you want. All right. I'm not sure you can go up and touch the doggone thing. I don't see any fences around it. Oh, let me go. I'm going backwards there, but there's nothing stopping anyone from walking up there. It's a public company, so they don't have armed guards like the military installations here. But he said, "Come out and see me." Now, the guy on the left said, when you're leaving after the scrub, he said, respect everyone behind you. Don't drive fast because you might get a flat tire, break your axle. There's so many holes and stuff and ruts in the road. These are undeveloped roads, just dirt roads going there. So, but we've got a big infrastructure here. We're not in an isolated area where the closest hotels are a few miles away. I mean, we are here with this at Kennedy Space Center, but I'm just saying, wow. If it exploded there, it would take out all that area, is what they're saying. They're basically saying the orange area is the blast zone area, all right, restricted. But, you know, I've also been told that even if I stood in this area here where the orange is to watch a Saturn V rocket launch, that the noise level would kill me. It was so high that the noise level would kill you. That's a Saturn V with 7 million tons of thrust. They're bragging about up to 15 million tons of thrust for this. okay, going to over 200 tons from 20 tons of payload. Um, so there's a lot to be thought about. And Marty, you brought up a good point about the wildlife in the area. Would you like to share that?
I'm not sure what I said. Oh, the impact to the wildlife?
The what?
Yeah, about the impact to the local wildlife.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that. We'd wind up killing a lot of the wildlife.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the wildlife, this is a big birding area. They have birding conferences here. Birds migrate from the north down here and then go back north, very well known. Some of that has changed over the years too, and people are wondering if it's because of the frequency of the SpaceX launches, Marty, because the roseate uh, spoon-billed roseates aren't out there in the flock of hundreds like they used to be. And you just see like a carpet of pink out there. Photographers literally on top of each other photographing now at some of these beautiful wildlife areas here. So, and if Musk is going to launch one every hour, how in the world are we going to use the beaches? All right. If he wants to launch one every day or every week, part of this discussion is they predict that the beaches would be closed 60 days a year, 2 months a year. Okay. And I love the beaches. I go to the beaches, frankly, almost once a week. Lots of times in the evening, okay, not just always getting the suntan at the beach. But this is part of our tourism, big time, is the beaches. In fact, one of the tourism agencies blocks on their Facebook page the word shark because we don't want tourists thinking about sharks. And New Smyrna, north of here, is one of the big shark capitals of the world for people getting bit by sharks. So, yeah, there's a lot to be discussed. How much of this has been decided before the public forums, like many of us who've been in politics, like myself, understand some decisions are made and they're just doing this to make it look good. I really don't know. And I'll be watching the news and have some reporter friends that will be there to get some insight to us there for us. Rosalie, we'll get to the bottom of this. Yep. Marty, you got something?
Yeah, two more questions. One from Steve Holcomb. Aren't the potential issues with Starship Super Heavy similar to those of the abandoned Nova rocket?
Yes, they are. And Steve is talking. The Nova rocket was to be the Mars rocket, bigger than the Atlas rocket. Nova was also included in, even in the '60s. As I make this bigger, pad 39 actually goes up, and there's two pads above it. Were they? What were the names of those, Marty?
39C.
39C was actually 39C. I thought there was a number like 50 or 60 also they put on it. But 39C would go above there, and that's right at where the Play Linda beaches start. Now there's 13 beaches where you could stop, and each one is beautiful. And and you pay $20 to go on these beaches by the carload, $20, or you get a year pass or senior pass like I bought years ago. But there's no vendors on these beaches, all right, at all. Not unlike Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, and the other beaches, they all have vendors, and they're right off the path of A1A where you have, grocery stores and so forth, surf shops. But there's no vendors here. You buy your stuff and take it to the Playa Linda beaches.
Now,
Marty, thank you, Steve, for mentioning that. Love talking about the Nova rocket. Maybe we'll do a program on that.
the reason is a charge, like Mark, but it's the beaches are national resource, a national park.
Yes.
Yeah. And we have a question from someone named Mostly Parked. Wasn't there concerns for the nuclear power on some of the probe launches years ago?
Yes, there was mostly parked. And one of our friends, astronaut Mike McCully, who sat over here next to me with Jay Honeycutt and gave a great tribute last week to George Abbey, the great leader at Johnson Space Center. You want to check that out. Mike was the pilot for STS-34 that had an RTG, radio isotope thermal generator, a piece of plutonium on it or uranium, I forget which, that would emit heat and power all the systems on there, just like a nuclear reactor lights some of your homes. People went out of their minds over that, chained themselves up to the nuclear protesters were in there, and Macaulay laughed about it. It was on the Galileo spacecraft headed to Jupiter, which they didn't want to use solar panels because they weren't efficient back then, though we've sent several probes now to Jupiter that do have solar panels on them for energy and not nuclear. But the nuclear debate will wage forever. It's very efficient, clean, and why not if it's handled properly? There was editorials and everything about this, as well as Magellan had RTG on it, but it wasn't well publicized. And Macaulay said that the power of that nuclear generator wasn't enough to operate a toaster oven. All right. You couldn't even operate a microwave oven with that power that it was putting out. And it was very encased in its thing, so if it blew up, nothing would happen. So good question there.
We have a question from Dave Stange. I may have missed this. How much smaller was the Apollo? Was the Apollo area of danger versus the one you are describing now?
Well, we don't. I don't know accurately what you're talking about, what it would be on this chart here, Dave. But of course, it's going to be maybe half of that. You're talking. This brushes right up to the vehicle assembly building. All right. And so I really don't know. That's something we'll check out. All right. And they're certainly going to talk about the Saturn V, the most powerful rocket that has been launched over here. It was amazing. Lit the whole coast in daytime. The last one, Apollo 17, did launched at night. So we will be keeping you up abreast on this. But already billions of dollars have been invested in the infrastructure for this, and Musk has got some buildings that he's putting up on Kennedy Space Center property to process and maybe build Starships. So Starships is two vehicles. It's the booster and then the spaceship that they just called the ship now. So go ahead, Marty. Appreciate everybody chiming in today.
Steve Holcomb is stating that the Santa Fe exclusion zone was a 7-mile wide circle from 39 A and B, which is why the VAB and press site is where they are. It's a 3-mile zone, not 7-mile zone.
Okay, Marty says, 3 miles. Probably not 7. That would almost stretch over to us, Dave. But
that would stretch into the river.
Yes, right. We thank HVN for there. We don't know about the Russian Cosmos programs except what American astronauts tell us there. In a nutshell, they build things to last, and when they work, they don't mess with them anymore. They don't tinker with them anymore. That's Mike Baker, astronaut 4 times, twice a pilot, twice a commander, and he spent 3 years, Mike Baker did, as the director of operations at Star City, and he's one of our featured speakers about that at our Shuttle Fest program. So HVN, you're going to want to come to our Shuttle Fest in June because we're doing it all about NASA at Star City. So check that out. Okay.
We have a question, comment from Dave Stange. There was concern about the Apollo 13 LEM when it crashed back into the ocean, if I remember correctly. No, there wouldn't be. It would just have been the ascent stage, which did not have any nuclear power. The descent stage had the RTG for the experiments that were loaded into the descent stage.
It was unloaded on the moon, the RTG for.
It was used on the moon to power the experiments, but the ascent stage on Apollo 13 that crashed into the Earth had nothing like that. There's no radioactive material.
Okay, there you go. From the man that was all over let's see, that'd been limb number 10. What was 13's limb number?
Uh, 9.
No, not nine. Nine.
Oh.
Nine was the one at the Space Center.
Yeah.
So
13 was
10 become 15.
7.
7. Yeah, limb 7. There you go. Marty was all over those as electrical engineer, wiring things up, the circuit breakers, all kinds of things, batteries inside those wonderful lunar modules. Still never duplicated, Mr. Musk. You've yet to duplicate a machine spacecraft that works only in the environment of space. Yes, Marty.
Yeah, Steve is saying it was 3 to 12 mile radius. He's probably right because you got to go over the ocean, so it would be 12 miles out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But on land, it's just 3 miles.
Well, these are some legitimate questions to ask about bringing the Starship here, and I'm kind of like 60% don't bring it here, as cool as it would be. But I can see shutting the beaches down 60 days a year is going to be chaos. How about all the cruise ships coming in and out? All right. When I go to plenty of meetings for two Chamber of Commerce's, and I'm on a visitors council, and they all talk about we're pushing the number of rocket launches we can have a year. Last year we had 96, I believe. They're predicting up to 125 this year. All right. There's a lot of things that you don't think about, like it costs the Titusville Police Department and our mayor, Andrew Connors, overtime every time there's a launch, whether it's be day or night, even 2 a.m. They have to put extra police at the intersections to control what could be congested areas there. So they pay overtime for that. Who's going to pay for that? Cities can't budget for this. So there's some talk that Space Florida helping them do that. Marty, you got another question?
Yeah, Mostly Parked has a good comment. He says, I wonder if insurances will be affected locally. Will there be any reason to raise the rates? Broken windows?
Well,
Possible.
that's a good point. That's a good point. Yep. How long did Aquarius have that descent stage attached to it, Marty? At what point did they, on 13,
Yeah.
they had to discard it somewhere? So I believe that they are. Steve is correcting us here that there is an RTG at the bottom of the Indian Ocean, I believe, from 13.
Okay.
But he's right. They didn't want to leave it. I'd have shot it into a solar orbit or at the sun, but maybe they didn't have fuel for that. Good. See, we've got the best and most intelligent viewers out there, bar none. They don't believe that alien spaceship stuff, do they, Marty? Well, let's move off of this. Thank you for all enjoying this conversation about what is happening on our Space Coast as we speak, an open debate about whether to allow this Starship to launch here or not. And I can't wait to get home again and pop up some more popcorn, kick back about 6:30 our time here, 7:30 I mean for me, 6:30 for you, Steve Jokums, and let's see what happens. All right, birthday time. Birthdays. Man, I'm going to put my hat on. I got my birthday banner here, okay, because I got a very favorite friend of mine, astronaut acquaintance friend's birthdays today. We got 2 astronaut birthdays born on August 26th. First one is John Blaha. Marty, I picked this picture just for you. Marty's a big New York Yankees fan. There's John Blaha's autograph, if you wanted to know. He's in space on a shuttle with the Yankees must have won that World Series when he went up there, Marty. And he, no doubt, is a New York Yankees fan. How they doing, by the way? Are they still ahead of Boston in the standings?
We don't. No reason to talk about standings at this time. We'll wait another month. To
Okay.
answer your question, no.
Uh,
12 cents ahead.
all right. Well, all right. Let's see. Oh, they're talking about insurance claims there. Yeah, insurance stuff. We're talking about John Blaha's birthday there, WW 420. Where was he born? He was born in San Antonio, Texas on August 26, 1942. He's 83 years old, spent 161 days in space on 5 missions, including 5 months on the Mir space station. I met him at a Hall of Fame event, and very nice man, very personable. Marty, about exactly your size on there. He reminds me of you. He looks so physically fit all the time, and so forth. And I met him a couple years ago, and he'd hit 80, and he said he was slowing down some and not traveling as much. But he was very delightful to talk to. A pilot for STS 29 and 33, commander of 43 and 58. Then he rode 79 to the Mir space station and came back on 81. And here he is the way he looks today with his mission patches on there. And of course, those of you who don't know it, 25 stands for Mach 25, the reentry speed that they came in. And 17,500 miles an hour, of course, is what is 25 Mach. And that is a very cherished patch, all right? Only astronauts have that. And it's kind of universal that you see them have it prominently displayed on their wardrobe. Next, another astronaut born August 20, and we wish you well, John Blaha. Can't wait to see you. I'm going to try to reach out to him and see if he wants to come to our Star City Saturday Shuttle Fest, Marty. Worth a shot. Think he still lives in the San Antonio area. And a happy birthday to Kay Heyer, 66 years old, a Navy pioneer and shuttle engineer who became an astronaut. And Kay, I have had lunch with her over a half a dozen times as she's invited. She splits her time between Houston and the Space Coast. She is a consultant for several companies, as a lot of astronauts are. Kay was born August 26, 1959, in Mobile, Alabama, and is captain in the U.S. Navy Reserve, has flown aboard 2 shuttle missions. 90, the Nero Lab, an interesting one, and then she was up on 130, okay, waited in 2010. She waited 12 years in between flights, Marty, 12 years from because the Nero Lab was in May 1998, and in February 2010, she's back in space on 130 that delivered the cupola to the International Space Station. And there she is with some of her friends. Melinda Tribe is there. John, in the center there is John. Eric Baker's got the red jacket on. I can't think of John's last name. And I forget the lady and the gentleman with Eric Baker, but Eric does a wonderful docent tour. He's here every Friday at noon till we close. So, and Kay was what they called a test project engineer. Those are all TSPs.
TPE.
Or yeah,
TPE.
TPEs. I mean, yeah, TPEs, test project engineer. And Melinda Tribe is married to the Apollo and shuttle engineer John Tribe. Yeah, so Kay came from the working on the shuttle, applied and become an astronaut. She also was the first Navy woman in a battle zone. She was in a sub killing helicopter during the what was there was a little invasion in the Falkland Islands. Is that right? Would that be the Falkland Islands, Marty?
Grenada?
Huh?
Was it Grenada?
Grenada Islands. There you are, Grenada. She was involved in that. And gee, I thought I had a picture of Kay and me. Oh, I don't. I excerpted that. That's not. But I've got a lot of pictures with her. What a lovely lady. She shoots you straight. I remember saying to her, Marty, that I thought it was a waste of Butch and Sonny's, uh, Butch Wilmore and Sonny um, Williams is to wait 12 years for a flight. And she said, no, it's not. They're test pilots and they're testing that new Boeing spacecraft, and that's what they live for. And they live for, all right, an 8-day flight become an 8-month flight. But Kay's a good one, and we hope to have her on Stay Curious and involved in us someday. Well, the last 3 days, 8 astronauts have had birthdays. 2 today, all right, Blaha and Higher. All right. Then yesterday, on the 25th, we had these Dick Richards, 4 flights, turned 79. Okay. There's Dr. Anna Fisher, 1 space flight, the first mother in space with me a couple months ago, looking at our museum. She was here with a school group. She turned 76. Steve Lindsay turned 65, 5 space flights. This is yesterday, August 25th, okay? And Dr. Mary Weber, 2 space flights. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I said they were all born the 24th. All right, day before yesterday. Today's the 26th. So you have Mary Weber, 63, Steve Lindsay, 65, Anna Fisher, 76, and Dick Richards, 79, all born on the same day. And then you also had Gregory Jarvis, who died in the Challenger accident. He was born also on August 25th. Yes, Marty.
Yeah, Tom Celentano was saying today was also the birthday of Joe Engel.
That's right, Tom. He'd have been 93 years old today. And the great Joe Engel, X-15 pilot, waited 20 years to fly almost on another winged spacecraft as commander of STS-2. Mary Weber's birthday was day before yesterday. Yesterday, we celebrated. Oh, I wanted to tell you also, I forgot to tell you that Richard was born in Key West. Let's go back there. I like giving you, because you all know where you're born. Richard was born in Key West, Florida. Grew up in St. Louis. Anna, Dr. Fisher, she was born Anna Lee Tingle. Tingle's her maiden name. Of course, she married an astronaut, Fisher, and got divorced. She was born in New York City, but considers San Pedro, California, to be her hometown. Steve Lindsay, also a California boy from Arcadia. And Mary Ellen Weber, one of the 24-some astronauts from the great state of Ohio. She was born in Cleveland and raised in Bedford Heights there. And then yesterday's astronauts was Drew Feutzel, born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, but grew up in Lake Orion, Michigan, and Lee Archibald, born August 25th, 1960, in Oak Park, Illinois. He grew up in Hillside, Illinois. So there we have it, our birthday there, and a little Starship talk. Burned up almost an hour there already, so I'm going to kind of breeze through. Yeah, Steve brought up his nicknames, Pinto, Lindsay. Yep, I don't know if that's Pinto Bean or what. We get some, and he's an Illinois boy there, so you know him there, Steve. Let's talk briefly about, thank you for a great conversation today, everybody. We love engaging you all in things. The Starship hit a nerve, and I'm glad it did. Great comments today, and thank you so much. ASM's virtual charity auction is Saturday, August 30th. All right, this is how it works. You can scan right now. Go and register to bid with our Bid Again Auctions is handling this through another auction house called Invaluable. Some of you may be familiar with that. And 360 lots. So this is all about learning about space memorabilia. There's Chuck Jeffrey on my left, or to the left there on my right, and that is Ken Havicott. And these two gentlemen have forgotten what I know about space memorabilia that they taught me. But for over 9 years, I've known these two gentlemen. Ken tutored Chuck on the left there, Ken, since high school, has been selling memorabilia as Space Coast covers. All right. And that's his business trademark over on the right. And Bid Again Auctions is Chuck, who is a collector, become an analyst with, they don't like being called experts. They like being called analysts because nobody's a real expert. But when you buy something in our auction, it's been cleared by Ken because Ken usually previews all of them for Chuck when Chuck puts the auction up about 30 days before the auction, so people have a lot of time to preview it. And he may say, "I think that signature is a forgery," or "I think that signature is auto pen that you say is a real signature." So Ken, thank you for helping us out and catching things all the time to keep our auction one of the best ones there. So also through these auctions, we're up to auction 39, and I came in the museum at auction number 4. These auctions, as a nonprofit, we're transparent, gives our museum from $7,000 to $15,000 sometimes. All right, and once a year we have an auction that we have everything in there is from ours, so we get it all. Chuck Jeffrey, without a doubt, as this plaque commemorating him says, has saved our museum, all right, by through these auctions. He did them on his own at no charge for like the first 20 of them. Then he decided he liked doing this, turned into a business, Bid Again Auctions, and now he does get paid for what he does, and it's a reasonable fee, of course, like all auction houses there. But there, we honor you, Chuck Jeffrey, with what you've done. The man has raised over $700,000 for this museum in the last 10 years. Okay. And all I want to say is every dollar of it's spent. Okay. Because we're about a $250,000 a year operation right now. Maybe a little more, but we're not that big, and we hope to get bigger. And thanks to this man for keeping the doors open. Well, let's look at some of the things you can own. And this is a page that I put in there of 360 lots. This is like lot 20 through 28. We just don't have space memorabilia. We've got some postage souvenir mint sets. We've got Thomas Jefferson pre-canceled rare 1 cent stamp sheet that should go for a couple $100. Like our good friend that's designed over 40 post stamps ourselves, Chris Calley, we do promote the stamp world, and there's some space stamps on there. All right. You've also got original USPS posters from the 1970s. All right. But then the NASA stuff starts. There's just half a dozen lots like this that aren't spaced in each auction, including an American flag flown over the Capitol with a certificate of authenticity that you can own. But here we got souvenir fragments from launch complexes 19 and 40. These are on sheets that describe them. That doesn't come up very often. You got some positives or slides of planetary images there as another lot. Here we got some space stuff. Vintage Chris Kraft autograph there. How about that nice Mercury poster signed by Wally Schirra, Scott Carpenter, and Gordo Cooper? All right. Now, if you would like, that should go for maybe $300. It should be $100 an autograph, easy, and then they're all together on a poster. So I'm going to bid $350 on that. So I've registered. I click in on this lot that I want to go $350. Now, when the gavel starts pounding at noon on Saturday, if it only gets up to $300 and I'm the bid that bid $300, I get it for $300. Though somebody comes in at $325, my bid goes up to $350, and maybe they stop at that. But I'm watching it, so if someone matches my $350, maybe I'll go, well, let's see if they'll go $4. So I'm going $375, all right? And maybe I win it at $375. Or maybe I win at $350, or if it only bids up to $275 and I was willing to bid $350, I get it for $275. Now there's a 20% museum charity fee put on every purchase. That is guaranteed that we get 20% of every auction. Okay. And then Um, the rest of it either goes to the consigner or Chuck, the auction house there, gets their take. So there's a lot of people being paid along the way. All right. How about 3 appreciation awards from the with the that are fun to have? The Apollo lunar mission, the coin with the approach and landing tests, and then there's another program there that I can't make out. Um, a lunar chart that's interesting. How about a Skybolt missile model there on the lower left, right there? That should go for a couple $100. On the other side is the North American Aviation Contractor model for an X-15. Now that is something we're letting go of here at the museum, and that's $400 should be the minimum bid that would fetch, and it should fetch up to 800. That's what's in there. You got some X-15 photographs that would there in the middle that go great with that model. Here you have left to right Apollo Mission Grumman Lunar Module Awards, a whole bunch of them there to space workers like Marty. How about an Apollo 10 Mission Collection with a press badge? A piece of, on the right hand corner there is a piece of fireproof cloth that the mission logo's on. What's that cloth called, Marty?
I'm thinking.
Senior moment there.
Senior moments.
Apollo 10 slides, glass slides. The photos do quite well. Here's a 70 millimeter slide. That's a bigger format slide up there that you see, taken out the window of Apollo 11, the American flag, before they lift it off. How about the famous flag shot of Buzz saluting, but Fred Hayes has signed it, saying Buzz is on the first EVA saluting the flag. We're great friends, as is Chuck Jeffrey, our auction analyst, with Fred Hayes, and he signs a lot of stuff for us to share with you all. There you've got some mission tapes there, reel-to-reel tapes. Photos do quite well, like we said. Here you've got, this is something Ken Havicott packages up, a piece of cargo netting from LEM 13, okay, taken out of the command module, I assume, with a certificate of authenticity. All right, that could go for $1,000 to the right person, but 100 to 500 is what we're expecting.
Or beta cloth.
Beta cloth. Thank you, beta cloth. Okay. Beta cloth, okay, is what is the fireproof material that they put logos on. Fred Hayes signed. We've had a problem on the classic Apollo 13 that he is on. That could go for money. Bunch of Apollo 13 stuff there that Fredo signed. Edgar Mitchell signed. He was the sixth man on the moon on Apollo 14, and great friend of our museum. That should go for a couple $100. Neil Armstrong's pre-flight X-ray of lunar overboots. The current bid on this is $500. As you see, it could go for as much as $4,000 to $5,000. All right. Why did they X-ray Neil's boots and everybody's spacesuit? Because they didn't want pins and needles in it from the International Latex Corporation seamstresses, otherwise known as Playtex. Hey, here's something I think would be cool to get by for the Italian American Club in Melbourne, where we're going to have Jay Honeycutt give a special talk September 10th, a dinner with Jay. Apollo 15 flown to the moon Italian flag with certificate of authenticity. Now, if you think you're going to get for $225 a flag that's flown around the moon, no, it's going to go for $2,000 probably to $3,000, we hope. Apollo 15 rollout signed by 10 astronauts. Wow. That Charlie Duke, that's pretty cool, Marty. I might go $250 on that. It could go for $1,000. Vintage Apollo 15 poster. Apollo 16 surface A Kodak paper. Now on the back of every photographic paper it says a watermark. Who made it? Well, Kodak had A Kodak paper on the back of their watermark through like 1972, and then they just put Kodak paper. That tells you this was printed Apollo 16 time in 1972. I think they went to a Kodak paper a year later. A vintage crew patch. There's a big difference in patches. Experts like Chuck and Ken Havocott know that. I don't. But a crew patch given to the crew has a few little Easter egg artwork, they call it, in there. And you can tell it by that, and it's worth every day probably $250 or more. Kapton foil from Lunar Module Orion on 16. Obviously, it didn't come back from the moon. There's Charlie Duke on the moon. He signed a picture. Could be a couple $100 there. More lithographs. We do have this as part of the museum. This Apollo and Command module that does sell for around $400, but we've got Rusty Schweikert and Jack Lausma's signatures on there. Jack Lausma was an Apollo backup, and of course Schweikert saw this configuration on Apollo 9. There's some more Kapton foil from Apollo Soyuz. This Kapton foil they took off, stripped it off of the command module that was in the ocean. Frogmen did that a lot, and that's where it comes from sometimes. ASTP observation maps signed by Tom Stafford. You've got some appreciation awards. We've got some Skylab stuff signed by all the crews. Wow. All 9 astronauts signed that Skylab cover there. That should go for $100 an autograph. It should be $900. Unfortunately, it'll probably go for less than $5. And finally, a page here that I picked out, a potpourri. These are lots 269 to 275. Sally Ride signed this Mystery of Mars book. There's a life-size cutout of Neil Armstrong. Can you say NASCAR drivers? You see a lot of those. How about 270A is NASA Umbilical Interstage Separation Simulator. Marty Chuck would like probably your input on this, but it is a device that separates the things in the LUT, I think. Here's a jet fighter aviation helmet with headset. That 3 bids on that, already up to $150. It should go for $1,000. The gotcha man of all time, the jokester, practical jokester, Wally Schirra. This hard to find vintage Wally Schirra poster right over my shoulder. At last, someone you can believe in, a real life hero, Schirra, the world's greatest pilot. Signed by him. This was a joke poster that I think Alan Shepard did on him. Numbered NASA numbers on maps are important to increase the value. And there is Mariner 7 as it approached Mars in probably 1972 or so. It's actual photos that were taken in there. Stuff like that is available for you to buy at the auction Saturday. Be there, be square, everybody. And like I said, if you're a little light in the wallet this time of year, it's an education like you'll never get anywhere else to see space memorabilia. I wish there was an audio with it, Marty. I'd like to hear Chuck talking about it or me commenting about things like I did here to prime the pump, so to speak. So
That was good when they did the auctions here at the museum.
yeah, we did them here at the museum until COVID, and then we tried 2 that just weren't well attended. So we might get back to that someday. So Elena Adhikera is watching South Africa. WW420, thank you for spending your 420 time with us, brother. Mostly parked in HVN and 420. We new people that we enjoy enjoying our program. We do this Monday through Friday here at the American Space Museum, where we consider us to be the caretakers of the birth of the American space age here in Brevard County. Cliff Watson's in Australia. Summer's coming to you pretty soon, mate. Carlton Bailey out there at the Canaveral Groves Wildlife Preserve. RG Jubilee, Rosalie, thank you for watching. Mitch Rothman, buddy, give me a call, Mitch. He is supporting us financially with his wife Paula and helping us raise money for our gift shop that we're going to start attacking. Tommy Usiak there in Pennsylvania. I'll give you a call here in a bit. Robert Law in Dundee, Scotland. Tom Celentano. So enjoyed Tom's visit this spring here. He's up in Connecticut. Michael Bruno, I believe, is in Miami. And Dean Babcock and Steve Jokums up in the great state of Illinois. And Dave Stangy trying to get his wife Julie to get out of Michigan and move to Titusville, where he knows he would be here every day. Go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, Archie Jubilee Mark is asking you, are you going to get Fred Hayes' autograph on that book?
Well, we just might do it, okay? I've got Fred Hayes' autograph on a lot of things. On which book? Oh.
I'm guessing she gave you a book to get Fred's
right.
autograph?
Fred Hayes, one of the nicest men in the world, as Marty knows, 80 some years old. His autograph maybe more than any other astronaut out there. He autographs a lot of stuff, but still a lot of stuff ends up in the trash because families don't look at the books and so forth to see if anyone autographed things. So, but we'll do that. Fredo autographs things at the Infinity Museum once a month when he goes there. That's where you send stuff or get his autograph. And finally, let's have a go for launch today, everybody. As there's the remotes of Chris LeMarie that have been out there 3 days. He shot me a picture of one that was rained on, so he hopes it's functioning but pretty close to the pad there, Chris. I don't think those tripods are heavy enough to withstand that barrage of wind and dust that they're going to get. But send me the pictures, and if it works out for Chris LeMarie and these remotes, you will see them here at the America's Space Museum Facebook page and later here on Stay Curious. So thank you all for watching today, and thank you all for your input on should Starship be put on our Space Coast. We'll find out, and I'll let you know what the public reaction is the next couple days here on our Florida Space Coast. So tomorrow we do have a guest. It's going to be Robert Granath is going to talk about the first launch at Cape Canaveral. That, of course, is Bumper 8, 75 years ago. A V2 rocket modified a little bit. He's going to tell us all about that. Robert Granath, very popular public affairs officer for several rocket companies and also for NASA in his day. So you're going to enjoy that. Thursday will be the one and only Terry White. We're going to talk about the front wheels of the shuttle. What was all that about? And what kind of rubber they use? How big were they? What was all the landing gear? And who was the broom crew? By God, you're going to learn about that on Thursday from Terry White. So until tomorrow, when we welcome Bob Granath to our program, I'm thanking Marty Winkle for a great program behind our Streamlabs production facility here, and telling you to please watch our show tomorrow so I can bridge the space between us. Thank you so much. I'm Mark Marquette. Go Starship 10.